The Romantic era occurred 1785 to 1830 after the Age of Reason, which was 1603 to 1784. This era revolted against literature of the Age of Reason, which to Wordsworth had imposed on poetry artificial conventions that distorted its free and natural expression. Unlike the Age of Reason, which elevated wit over feeling, the Romantic Age emphasized emotion and its interaction with mental and social life. In his preface to Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth outlined the conventions that make up poetry for what is now considered the Romantic Age. From this Romantic era, poet John Clare soon emerged. The meaning. It is just as important as the words. Breaking apart the structure of I am will help with understanding the poem. The poem consists of 3 sestets in iambic pentameter. The name of the poem is I am. John Clare wittingly puts his poem in iambic pentameter. Note that I am sounds a lot like I am. Very funny, Mr. Clare. The whole poem follows iambic pentameter except in the first stanza when the speaker says, I am. Line 1 especially does not follow this rhyme, which really sticks out to the reader. Therefore, this break in iambic pentameter must mean something. The speaker's I am statement comes across very bold, very confident, almost as if John Clare is yelling, I am. But right after this, a dash is used, pausing the reader. Almost as if the speaker himself is pausing, losing his momentum and confidence. This previously very confident I am statement dissipates, and the speaker tells us that despite his existence, nobody cares or knows. I am, yet what I am, nobody cares or knows. His friends forsake him. The use of alliteration in this line emphasizes the abandonment the speaker feels. Then, the speaker goes on to talk about his woes, which he alone deals with. These woes come and go, yet he lives. This simple I am statement now takes on a very powerful role. It is no longer just 2 words. It is now a reassurance to the speaker that he is alive despite his life appearing to be insignificant to others, such as his friends, and despite the woes that come and go. The punctuation also greatly contributes to the meaning of the poem. He often uses dashes, semicolons, and commas, which adds emphasis and acts to lengthen the lines, adding to the tone of the stanza. It is as if the reader is struggling to finish the poem just as the speaker is struggling in his life. The first stanza's word choice also adds to the image of a lonely, struggling, sad speaker. He uses intangible things to describe himself and his troubles. These words evoke imagery of a non-existent person. Yet, the speaker is and still exists. Stanza 1 ends with an enjambment, tossing the reader into the next stanza, just as his life, a vapor, is tossed. The second stanza's first two lines are an anaphora, telling the reader what the vapors of his life are being tossed into. He again uses intangible words, such as nothingness and dreams, to describe his existence. He tells us that there is neither sense of life or joys, only the shipwreck of his life's esteems. The speaker says that even the ones he loved the most are the most distant from him. So, what does this all mean? In summary, the speaker is living in a place that brings him no happiness. He is alone, deserted by his family and friends. He is left with only the remainder of his life's accomplishments, all of which have been destroyed. The third sestet speaks of a place free from man, where the speaker can be with God in sleep untroubling and untroubled beneath the sky. But once one looks at the word choice, it is clear the idea is a little darker. The speaker is wishing for death. We know from stanza 2 that the speaker sees himself and his existence as a vapor in the nothingness of scorn and noise. He clearly believes his existence is intangible, it is barely existent. Yet, a man and a woman are very physical, tangible things, which contrast himself. So when he says he wants to be in a place where man or woman is not, he wishes he was in the afterlife, a place living people cannot be. Hence the line, a place there to abide with my Creator God. As well, the speaker uses the word choice, sleep. If he wanted to live with God, wouldn't he just say that? This word choice reminds me of a popular phrase, rest in peace, often written on gravestones. See the connection? The speaker wants to rest in peace, or in other words, he wants to die. The third sestet also uses sibilants, the use of soft consonants that produce a hissing sound, such as s, sh, or ch. The third sestet repeatedly uses soft consonants. The atmosphere created by using sibilants is one of peace. John Clare intelligently uses sibilants to help create this mood. It is fitting that he uses it when talking about death, which he sees as peaceful compared to the chaos of his life. The rhyme scheme changes from the AB, AB, AB used in the first stanza to an AB, AB, CC rhyme scheme in the second and third stanzas. Why the change? We know Shakespeare's sonnets often have a rhetorical structure that offered a solution in the couplet. This suggests that Clare uses a similar idea in his poem. He builds up to this resolution through the rhyme scheme. So what is the solution offered in the couplet? Death. So, does I am follow the conventions of the Romantic period? One specific convention that is clearly evident is the poet and the poem convention. Wordsworth said that the source of a poem is not in outer nature but in the psychology of the individual poet. The essential materials of a poem were the inner feelings of the author. As well, he defines that in most romantic lyrics, the I is no longer a conventional, typical lyrical speaker, but one who shares recognizable traits with the poet. The experiences and state of mind expressed by the lyric speaker often accords closely with the known facts of the poet's life and the personal confessions in the poet's letters and journals. So using these two definitions of what the poet and poem convention is, we'll look at who John Clare is to see if there's any similarities between the speaker and the poet. Here are some things we know about John Clare. Perhaps when the speaker of the poem says, I am the self-consumer of my woes, they rise and vanish in oblivion's host, he is speaking about how his bouts of depression come and go. When the speaker says that his friends forsake him, and even the dearest that I love the best are strange, nay, rather, stranger than the rest, perhaps he is alluding to the fact that his wife never visited him, and therefore she's the strangest out of everyone he loves. But what I think is the biggest similarity between John Clare and the speaker is that in 1841, John Clare said, Forget not thyself, and the world will not forget thee. Forget thyself, and the world will willingly forget thee till thou art nothing but a living dead man, dwelling among shadows and falsehood. John Clare attempts to remember himself in this poem, hence the strong I am, so that he does not forget himself and become a living dead man, dwelling among shadows and falsehood. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. He becomes a vapor tossed in the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the sea of waking dreams. The world does forget him. All of these intangible things is how the world is forgetting him. He's starting not to exist. He's becoming non-existent, yet he's still alive, hence living dead man. In conclusion, I Am, written by John Clare, follows the poet and poem convention because it is a reflection on John Clare's emotions, mental state, and experiences. The structure of the poem contributes to the meaning, as well as literary devices such as simile, sibilance, and alliteration. Thanks for watching!